Welcome to Talking Live. I'm Dr. Robi Ludwig, and thank you for joining us during our COVID special edition. And I am so excited to have William DeMeo back. He actually was on the show a year ago, and oh my goodness, what a difference a year can make. Now he's back to tell us about a new series that he has on Prime Live, right? It's Prime Live?
Amazon Prime.
Amazon Prime. Amazon Prime. I have like pandemic brain after a whole day of work because we're taping this a little bit later in the evening than I usually do. Welcome back, William. How are you holding up with the pandemic?
I'm holding up. I'm holding up. I'm glad that things seem to be getting better now.
Yeah.
Things are we're starting to, I don't know how you feel, but I'm starting to feel, less stressed about it a little bit and a little more alive through the whole situation, because I know every human was probably, we were all kind of like wondering and unsure about so many things, but it seems now, me personally, I'm starting to feel, a little better about the situation. And I hope that we could, get back to production and start shooting and people can go back to, work. It's unfortunate, all the people that lost their lives and people that have been sick. I pray for everyone, and I hope that we could get through this completely soon.
Yeah, no, I know, me too. And I think when the pandemic first hit, it was a little bit novel and I was a little bit in denial. And I was fortunately still able to work because I can still do teletherapy and I can do my show via Zoom and, as you know, TV interviews via Zoom. But as time went on and I miss my friends, I miss hugging people, I miss kissing people, like I'm an extrovert. So there are certainly challenges that lie ahead, but we are starting to see a glimmer of hope, especially in New York City. You're in New York City, so we've been kind of grounded. We've been on house arrest longer than most people.
No, I know. I'm in both places. I run up to my house in Pennsylvania in the Poconos, and then I'm in Brooklyn, so I get the both places, and it's nice to be able to breathe a little more when you have some property, and could and fortunately I have a gym in my house so I could work out, because that would drive. If I couldn't work out for this amount of time, I would literally, because mentally I have to work out. I have to.
I hear you. Well, it kind of is a good time though to have a series come out because everybody is looking, for movies to watch and series to watch. And Gravesend, you've been working on since last year, because we talked about it a little bit last year.
Well, it's been 3 years since we started this project. It was originally called The Neighborhood, and we changed the name to Gravesend because there was another show called The Neighborhood that came out. So we changed the name to Gravesend, which we thought could work because that's the neighborhood that I'm from, in Brooklyn. And the name is very catchy because it's like the grave is the end in the life of the mob. And we changed the name for that reason. But it, like you said, it coming out when everyone was home really helped in a big way get more eyeballs on it. And we were #1 trending on Amazon Prime for over 3 weeks. We're still on Amazon Prime, but now we're also on Amazon where you could also buy the episodes, and we're on Tubi and Vudu and some other VODs as well. But we really did very well on Amazon Prime, getting more people to know and build an audience. The main thing was to get an audience for the show, which we were able to accomplish.
It was just, the timing was so right. And we should also remind our audience that you are not only the star of the show, you play the soldier called Benny, which is a very attractive and complex and interesting role, but you're also the writer, the producer, and the director. You really do it all. I don't know how you do it. How was it directing something that you've written and you're starring in? Does that complicate anything for you?
Well, it's definitely, as you said, when you direct it's so much more work than anyone could ever imagine, especially if you're playing a main character. Like directing is like everything. It's like you're every little bit, anything, you're in charge of so much, and it's such a commitment. And TV, episode after episode, it's a big commitment. But I wanted to direct this because I created it, and I've hired directors through the years, and I always work with Paul Borghese, who's a great director, and we have a great relationship, and we work very well together. On this, I kind of wanted to direct it myself because I wanted my complete vision on this, because it's the neighborhood I grew up in. It's certain circumstances that went on and just different things that I really felt like I could capture as a director. And I felt like a lot of people maybe wouldn't really understand because they didn't come from like where I came from and understand certain things and certain words that we said, and just, the way the girl's hair was boofed up, and the music choices, and the wardrobe. There was a lot of aspects to it that I felt like, I lived in that, like that was my time. Like I grew up in the neighborhood in that time period, and I remember it like it was yesterday. And
we should tell people that it took place in the 80s, and it's Brooklyn in the 80s with the music and what the mob looked like in the 80s in Brooklyn. And you have a sense of how the mob kind of presented itself over the years and decades, because you knew many people in the mob at that time.
Well, it's just that I'm a neighborhood kid, so it's not like sitting here saying like, I hung out. Just like you know them because if you're in the neighborhood and you hang out in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Like if you choose to if you hang out and you're hanging out with your friends on the corner and you're just hanging out, it's impossible not to run into people like that, because that's what it was like. They were everywhere. So you met people like that because where you hung out. They were just Brooklyn, like any time you went to like the Club Pastels, there was, 100 guys in the place. And
did you cast the movie as well? Well, movie, I should say, series. Did you cast it as well?
That I cast? Well, I hired a great casting director. Her name is Carolyn Sinclair. But a lot of the characters that I chose, a lot of the main actors, most of them were friends of mine and people I knew really well, and people that I knew could deliver. Every one of them I knew I would never have to second guess. And they've all worked on, Scorsese movies, Sopranos, and, big films, and, The Wire. The cast was people that were authentic, East Coast guys that get it. And you wouldn't have to second guess them. Sometimes
they were very good. They were very good. And I loved about the characters is that I wanted to know more about them. I don't know if you've ever had this experience, but sometimes you don't know how you feel about a movie or a series or even a book, but the characters, like you think about them after you watch them. And I really felt I had that experience with Gravesend, and also found the family dynamics really interesting, like the dynamic you had with your father in the movie, or Benny had with his father.
Yeah, well, that's a big part of the future of the episodes too. And it's like we only had 4 episodes come out because we did it independently, and it was done without a studio. So we were limited on how much we could do because of our budget. But it really grows and grows. Like our next set of, we're doing at least 6 to 8 more soon when we can shoot again. And we're added so many great new names, which I'm going to announce soon. Some amazing people of just joining.
Does Benny need a shrink in the future series?
Does Benny need what? I'm sorry?
Does Benny need a shrink? or is he just going to continue to talk to the statue?
Well, Tony Soprano had to shrink, so uh,
Using
I
you for
know,
the
I know,
statue.
I know because it's what you. Yeah, I know. Yeah, yeah. Saint Anthony is really a very big part of the show in a way because that's kind of Benny's like his frustration and just different things because he's so torn with everything and because he really wants to be good. He really wants to deep down, but he's like, and even if you look at some of the people, for instance, like I'm very close with John Gotti Jr. and
Mm.
for instance, like a John Gotti Jr., like his father was the biggest mobster ever, and his father was like the Dapper Don, and he fell into that. Like there's people that are in that life that almost have no choice. It's like you just get caught up in it, and it's where you are. It's like you grew up in that neighborhood. We all have choices, but a lot of times, and a lot of guys I know through the years that were in that life almost didn't have like a choice almost in a way because their family was involved and it was, glamorous at the, to them and at the time and just, but when you really see what really happens in that life, you realize that the pain and different things that go along with that life aren't so glamorous. And I'm not trying to glamorize these guys. I'm not trying to make them.
There were times, I have to tell you, I needed to look away because there were some violent scenes that were very, graphic. And it was like, you realize the danger involved and the hostility and, it's scary. It sounds like no.
Of course. I mean, yeah, I mean, if you think about it and you look back to the 80s with the mafia, I mean, we could probably sit here and talk about how many just mob hits happened through the years and people that lost their lives. I mean, we all know the Spark Steakhouse, Paul Castellano getting killed in the city, and in the middle of New York City at December, like with people out. I mean, that's just one case. There's so many different cases because back then people didn't have cell phones. People didn't have, there weren't hardly any cameras around.
Right.
Yeah, you could get away with it. Like, to me personally, if you're going to do a series or you're going to do a movie that involves the mafia, to me, it's best to do it. And of course, the mob still exists today, but it's a different world. Back then, guys were out in the open more and people hung out and you see them in front of their social clubs and hanging out, and they were in nightclubs. And they had a group of people that were around them, for instance, like John Gotti with the Ravenite Social Club in Manhattan, all the guys in front of there, and just, all the different families had, social clubs and places where people hung out. I just think the 80s in general is just a fascinating decade on so many levels, not just the
really was.
Yeah, I mean, I think the music is amazing. I think the cars, the beepers, just the time period was just such a great time. And I'm noticing more and more how people are so want to see the past and want to live, especially since look at all the stuff that's gone on in the last, 5 years, like just the way the world has become and the social media and everything, the way it is. I think people miss that, the payphones and just, the beepers where you had money change in your pocket and you put the money in the payphone and just all of that and people socializing and sitting on stoops and talking to one another and kids in the street hanging out, playing stickball and wiffle ball and all those games. I mean, I just think that's New York. To me, that's so New York. And I think it's missed so much. And it's sometimes it's almost depressing when I drive through Brooklyn and I see hardly any kids sitting out and people playing and hanging out. It's really depressing because I always say that where I grew up, if you walk 10 blocks, you would say hello to, hundreds of people. You would know everyone was hanging out. Everyone was there. It was a community. Now it's so lost, and to me, it's a little depressing when I am back and I see. I mean, I don't know exactly where you grew up, but if you witnessed the same thing, did you, if you don't mind?
Well, you know what? It's true. I mean, it was an innocent time. You know, we'd ride our bikes, we'd go to the mall, but it was, you know, using your phone. It was a different type of connecting. And I think with this pandemic, in some ways, it's thrown us back to an earlier time where we realize how important it is to connect with each other, to walk with each other, to have these meaningful conversations that was getting a little lost by all the technology. And of course, technology can be a good thing or a bad thing. It's allowing us to interview, even though we have to socially distance. We don't have to wear masks during this interview, but it's, no, I mean, I do look back at the past and appreciate just simpler, more innocent times. And now, of course, things feel so complex. But that's where your movie comes in and really helps us to experience a different time and place with interesting characters. And you're wonderful. You're very likable in this. I have to say, I like that you did one scene in the jewelry store, my own personal preference. I did like that. I thought that was great. Let's tell people about also your Brooklyn brand, because I want to get a t-shirt. I might ask you what I should get. And my son wants to get something too. You have a perfume as well. We're going to put a link up so everyone can find it. Brooklyn brand, what motivated you to create it?
Well, Brooklyn brand, and I'm so happy that I started that. How that came about was as I started to get a little more known in the industry, many people were asking me to wear their clothes. People would always ask me, well, would you wear my shirt? Would you wear my hat? And I always did, but I was thinking about it. And for me personally, whenever I was in a store and I seen something that said Brooklyn on it, I would buy it. You know, obviously I'm very proud of where I'm from, and I feel like there's so much pride in Brooklyn. Like there's so much pride there. And I decided to come up with this company. I came up with the name Brooklyn brand, which I tell everyone, it's like you're not wearing a brand, you are the brand. Like Brooklyn brand, when you're wearing that, it's like, and this is one of our styles, but it's like you're the brand. It's not your Brooklyn brand. You're a brand of Brooklyn. You're a Brooklynite, and that's how that kind of started. And our website is www.mybrooklynbrand.com. And then as far as the perfume and cologne go, we have a cologne called Wise Guy Wear and Wise Girl Wear, and that's at www.wiseguywear.com. That's something that we were going to do a whole clothing line on kind of like Wise Guy stuff, but it ended up being that it turned out that we got into this fragrance line, which is doing well, and people love the fragrances as well. But the Brooklyn brand clothes, and I brought back a lot of like the velour sweatsuits, and
yes,
because people, especially like what we just talked about, my series, like a lot of people dress like that. You look at the Sopranos and they're all wearing track suits and velour sweatsuits, and I feel like they're very comfortable and they're stylish, and we started making them, and I can't tell you how many people have bought them and wear them with pride, and I appreciate all that support from people. And that.
So my question is, William, can I wear it since I'm not from Brooklyn? I mean, my mother was raised in Brooklyn, but that was a long time ago. Is it disingenuous if I wear something that says Brooklyn on it?
No,
or should I?
But that's the whole point. You don't have to be from Brooklyn.
I don't have to.
Yeah, it's like, to me, it's just like so many people. I mean, you are a New Yorker, right? I mean, where did you grow up? You don't mind me asking.
No, I don't mind. I grew up in Chatham, New Jersey, which was a small kind of town, a little preppy-ish. It's in northern New Jersey. It was a suburb outside of New York. We'd always come in. Yeah.
But you live in New York now, right? I mean,
I live in New York now. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so you're a New Yorker, and I'm sure you're in Brooklyn sometimes to begin. You know what I'm saying? And I just think the pride, and I can't tell you how many people that you mentioned Jersey. I cannot tell you how many people that have bought stuff that live in New Jersey that were not born in Brooklyn or aren't from Brooklyn that wear our stuff. And then there's the whole bunch of people that were born in Brooklyn but moved to Jersey. So it's both. We get both. We get the people that are from Brooklyn that wear our clothes, obviously, and then there's people that aren't from Brooklyn that wear our clothes. You know, the Bronx, you know, they're very proud in the Bronx too, but sometimes I'll get people from the Bronx that wear it, and sometimes people from Philly. But you know, it's a style, and especially like the sweatsuits. They have our logo on it, BB on it, but they're so cool, and people really like them.
I want to ask you about the future of movies given the pandemic, but I am going to have you be my stylist and tell me what shirt you think will look best on me. Then I'm going to take a picture and I'm going to put it on social media.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, you're beautiful.
Yeah,
So anything you wear will look great on you no matter what. That's the first place. But there's do you like camo? Do you personally like camo? Do you wear camo sometimes or no?
I do.
The camo BB is really cool. We just came out with a shirt that's it just says Brooklyn on it. It's black with gold.
That's nice.
That's the ladies are going crazy for that. This one says Brooklyn bound with all the train stops.
Listen, it's hard to choose. There are a lot of really good ones. Let me ask you, William, we know that things are not going to go back to normal until there's a vaccine for COVID-19. That the only way to keep this from reaching deathly proportions is by social distancing, washing our hands, and wearing a mask. But you can't do that. You can't really do that when you're making a movie. What do you think the future is for people like you in the business? What are the movies going to look like? What can we expect to see?
I don't have all the answers to that, and that's a good question, but I have some. For instance, today I spoke to my agent. We had a conversation about this, and he says he does not see or in studio or in office auditions till maybe his personal opinion was like January. So all our auditions are going to be on our phones, and that's one aspect. I heard that possibly we can start shooting production us as SAG actors in August, September. I heard that they're targeting that. It's hard with making a film show because you have a large amount of people. It's a big crew, and it's a lot of people on set. I mean, I personally think that everyone's going to obviously have to wear a mask. The actors, I guess they're going to check everyone's temperature almost every day.
You guys might have to quarantine together. I think that's what Tom Cruise is planning to do. Like make a movie and everybody has to quarantine together. And so like everybody's safe and then you go off and you do the movie. I mean.
Yeah, it's just, but like, how could you like, what is every production gonna like, so what are you gonna tell all your actors? You can't go to a rest, you can't go, like, how, you have 100 people on set. What are you gonna control where every single person goes? To me, that sounds like a good idea, but you can't tell people they can't live their lives. So so we have 100, let's just say we have 100 people that are working on it. So at night, you guys have to stay here. You can't go. I mean, in my opinion, how could you control people? On my personal opinion on one of my projects, I don't think I could tell people what you can't tell people, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you want to get something to eat somewhere, what if you're running? What if you see your mother or something? I mean, like, what are you supposed to do? I mean, I think that hopefully, I mean, do you feel that it won't be back until the vaccine is there? You think that there won't be?
Well, I think I think there's no way to guarantee not spreading it unless you get a vaccine, which hasn't been developed yet. And it takes a while to test that out. So I don't know. I mean, listen, I have to deal with it in my private practice too. Do I want to see patients sitting across from me wearing a mask? I can do that. I can do this and they can see my face. We live in interesting times. I guess it's to be determined. I just want to say though, I came across when I was doing research. I always do research, right before our interviews. And I caught you in a funny movie called I Am Woody.
Oh, wow.
And I just want to recommend, you were so good in it and funny in it. I just want to recommend that too, in addition to Gravesend, because it's fabulous. So we'll have links.
Thank you. Yeah, my friend John Hoyt made that movie. That was a lot of fun. That was
So
really
fun. It was so good.
That was a good time. Yeah, and getting back to what we were saying, I mean, I hope that, that this, I think we're seeing less people getting it now. I mean, today I think was the day when no one died, thank God. I mean, no one.
Yeah.
And my opinion is that we may know a little sooner, because I felt like between everything that's recently happened, a lot of groups are together.
Yeah.
And if the numbers don't go up, I mean, that's obviously a pretty good sign, I would think.
That is,
Let's
hope. I think we need to pray to God and pray to anybody that, can help us. So I think that's where we're at.
I'm so glad that you said pray to God, because that's what I do.
I know. You're so good that way, and you inspire me to be more spiritual and to believe.
No,
so
thank you. Thank you so much. It's just
anyway, I adore you. Anytime you want to come on Talking Live, you let me know, and we'll make it happen.
Okay, no, and I adore you as well, and I really enjoyed our last interview in Times Square.
Yes.
That's where you did a lot of them up there, right? That's where you.
I did, and the studio shut down because of everything that's going on. So, thank goodness I can continue the show this way, and it also allows me to interview people wherever they are. So it's opened up some avenues, which is kind of exciting. But I'm a people person, so I
knew you were going to say that. So you personally. This is good, but you would rather be sitting like in the chair right next to me, like how we do, right?
That's any day. I miss the hugging kiss. The virtual is fine, but no, I miss that in-person contact. So I was describing to a friend, I kind of feel like a wilting flower, but we have to do what we need to do, and safety first. So
of course, absolutely. And I look, we already got through. I would think and hope that it's been the worst of it. We've already gotten past that. I think we all are kind of feeling a little bit more hope and a little bit better now. I heard sports is starting to come back. A lot more stores are opening up.
Yeah.
Restaurants are opening up. We just hope that this winds up, that people are safe and people don't get sick, and we could get back to our lives. And it'll happen. It's going to happen soon. I think that it's going to happen sooner than people think. And how long can you go without movies and television? You can't. It's got to go.
No.
You know what I'm saying? So I think our industry is going to rebound. I think all of us are going to be better than we were. And, it's great to see you again and to do this. And I appreciate everyone that's watched Gravesend, and continue to please, you could follow us on Instagram too, Gravesend Series.
Oh, good.
Keep up with the series, and we're always posting different things, and we're going to start posting updates of what's the future is going to be with the new episodes and stuff.
Fabulous. Thank you so much for joining Talking Live, and we will see you again next week.
Thank you so much. It's great talking to you as well, and God bless.